Want to make an Afghan one block at a time? Join me and we can make one together. Thank you for joining me on the journey to make an Afghan together block by block. This video series takes 16 different Afghan squares, 3 of each of the same square, but each square of those 3 are a different shade of gray. You can pick your own colors, but I have the links to the 3 grays that I use down below. In the end, I will show you how to join the squares and finish off your Afghan. In just a few short weeks, we will have a completed Afghan. I want to make sure I give credit. The blocks are all a modification and a different version of patterns that I got from this pattern that I had since 1997. So I don't believe it's in print anymore, but I had to make sure credit was given to the original designer. For this square of your Afghan, we are going to do half double crochets. So I have my dark thread, my dark yarn, and I'm going to start with my slip knot. So I go around my index finger and thumb and draw up your yarn. So we are going to start with 27 loose chains. So nice and loose, you're going to chain 27. And I always lay it out and double check and recount it. So recount just to make sure you have 27. Now we are going to do half double crochets. So I'll show you what that stitch is, but we are going to do it in the 3rd chain from the hook. So let me lay this out here. So this one doesn't count. That's the loop that's on your hook. So here's 1, 2, and 3. So we are going to go in this stitch right there. And to do a half double crochet, you loop over, and so let me find that again, 1, 2, 3. So you loop over and you insert it under both of the stitches on that chain and draw back your thread. So now you have 3 on the hook. Now you draw through all 3. So that's a half double crochet. And we're going to do that all the way across. So loop it over, go through the next chain, draw, and then draw through all 3. Down towards the end of that row, and you go ahead and you go clear to your beginning chain and you put your last half double crochet there. And at this point we need to recount that you need to have 25 half double crochets. So make sure you count. So there's 1, 2, 3, 24, and 25. So we need to have 25 half double crochets. Now you chain 2 and turn your project. The cool thing about this square is you're going to always do a half double crochet, but it really gives it a cool look by which loop you go in. So here we have the top of the row that you just finished. So facing me is the front loop, and facing away from me is the back loop of these stitches. So here's front and here's back. So for this whole next row, we are going to insert our crochet hook and only go through the back. If you were going to just do a normal half double crochet, you would go through both of them, but we're only going to go through this back loop. So for the first stitch, you go in the first half double crochet, and we're going to go in the back loop only, and we're going to draw through the 1 and draw through all 3. Next one, we're going to go in the front loop. So we're going to go over, and this time I'm going in the loop that is closest to me, and I'm going to draw up my yarn and draw through all 3. Go back to the back loop. So there's the back loop, and draw through all 3. Front loop, back, Okay, we're down to our last half double crochet, and that one it ends in the back loop. And so at this point, lay down your project and count again. It's super important to make sure that we are going to stay square. You should, at this point, have 25 half double crochets. So you can count the stitch up here on top, or you can count the stem of your stitch down below, but just make sure you have 25 half double crochets. At the end of your row, we're going to chain 2, turn your row, and you have learned everything you need to do to continue this pattern. So we're going to do a half double crochet in the back loop, half double crochet in the front loop, back and front. So go ahead and continue that row across, counting your stitches each row until we make a square. I'm getting close to it being a square, so there's a couple ways that you want to test this. You can fold it to see if it makes a even triangle, and you can see we're a little short there. So we have to go at least one more row, but you can also lay it out nice and smooth and measure. This one is measuring, looks like right about 6.5, and we're right at 6. So I'm going to go ahead and do one more row, and then we will be ready to put the border on it. To add a border on your squares, with the same color, we are going to do one border of single crochets, and then we are going to switch to the color that you have chose to be your joining color. And in my case, my joining color is the light gray. So your first row around is the color of your square. Then we're going to finish it off, and we're going to go join in with the color that you chose as your main color, I should say. So I have just completed the last stitch on this square. All squares are going to be a little bit different, but the process is the same. So you finish your last stitch, you're going to chain 1. In that last corner there, you're going to put 3 single crochets. Now we are going down the end of your rows, and we need to have 25 single crochets between this corner and the next corner. So you just space them out evenly, and each time I can promise you I've ripped them out probably 50% of the time, because each one is just a little different. So I'm just going to show you my process. So that's our corner, and now you just start doing single crochets and count as you go. So there's 1, 2, I'm going to put another one in that hole. There's 3, 4, 5. I'm going to put another one in that hole. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9 in the same hole, 10, and 11, 12. On 12 to 13-ish, you should be close to halfway, and it looks like we're pretty close. So that was 12, 13, 24 in the same hole, and in this last hole we'll go number 25. Now we're up to the corner, and in that corner you're going to put 3 single crochets. 1, oh, there we go, 2, and 3. So now we have turned, and we're going to go down this side. The beginning tail, I have wove it through this edge of the square, so it will now get caught into our single crochet. So we've done 3, and now we do the same process, 25 on this side. Okay, this is number 25 on my last side. So we have each of the sides now have single crochets, and at this point you just join with a slip stitch in that first single crochet that you started with. So just stick, there you go, I got it through both of the pieces of that single crochet, and a slip stitch is you just pull it through and pull it through. I'm going to cut my thread, and then just pull through your string. And now at this point, so that I can catch that tail in my stitching, I feed it through that last edge. Now take your main color, which is my light color, and we are going to join it in the corner. Pick any of the corners, but just pick the middle of the 3 stitches. So here's 1, 2, 3. So in the center one, insert your hook and draw up your yarn. Chain 1, and in that same stitch, you're going to put 3 single crochets. Now we go on each side, but instead of 25 in between, we need to have 27. And this time it's a little bit easier because you're following the stitches from down below. But there have been many times, because crafting is not perfect, there's been many times that I'll get to the end and I only have 26. So I'll back it off a little bit and I'll add one here to make sure I have 27. It's very important to have 27 on each side. Each square needs to be blocked, and so I am using a June Taylor cushioned square blocker. But there's a lot of mats out there. I have the link for this one down below, but you need to pin it onto a mat 8 inches square. So each square needs to be pinned 8 inches, and I have been putting my pins every inch along each of the sides. And after we get that done, then we can steam it to get it into shape. So I start by putting a pin in each corner at the 8-inch mark and pin on each side, and then just add a pin all the way around. Okay, I'm just going to use my personal iron set on the steam setting. Steam each one of them for a minute. So I have my board, I have 3 of them on here. So I'm going to steam each one for a minute, come back and hit them for about another 20 seconds. And then when they cool down, I can remove the pins. Once they have cooled down and are dry, just pull off your pins and your square is blocked and ready to attach to make your Afghan. You may want to join your blocks as you go, and I have a diagram on the blog, DIYonthehouse.com, that you can print out. You can put them together in whatever order you want, because I did not want any of the same colors beside each other. So however you choose to put them together, to join them, you'll need a large eye yarn needle. And I am going to join them with the light color, the same color as the second row of the edging on each of your squares. So just cut a piece, roughly a yard long, and we will join it with this thread. And the reason we counted so carefully to make sure there were 27 stitches on each side, that'll make this process really easy. So to start the joining, thread up a couple, maybe 1.5 inches to hide your thread in the last row of stitching. And I'm just going to leave a tail like that. And then I have, following the pattern, I have my 2 pieces. I'm going to fold them wrong sides together, and I'm going to match up the corners, and it is just as simple as going through each from the bottom around to the top, to the bottom, to the top, and do not pull them too tight, just kind of nice and loose, but not too loose. Okay, there you can see the pattern that is going. It just makes it all a nice diagonal little stitch. So go ahead and do your squares that way. When you get to the end, leave your tail long. Don't cut this off, because you then can pick it up with your needle and join the next ones as you get them going. So just leave your tails nice and long, and you can join your squares as you get them done. Once you have sewn all of your squares together, we need to put a border on the entire project. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I am going to use the same color that I joined all the squares with. So in this pattern, it is the light color. And I don't like starting right on a corner, so I'm going to go a few stitches before that. Just insert your hook, draw through your thread, drop your thread, and I'm going to chain 2. So that's going to count as my first half double crochet, and I'm going to do 2 rows all the way around of half double crochet. So that's 1 in the next stitch, loop over, draw through all 3 on the hook, loop over, draw through, yep, there we go. And continue that, and I started near a corner so you could see what I have to do when I get to a corner. There we go. Okay, this is the corner stitch. We're going to put 3 half double crochets in the corner. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going down the other side and just continue a half double crochet all the way around your Afghan. Okay, and by putting those extra stitches in the corner, it lays nice and flat. So when you come around to this side, we're just going to slip stitch in the top of the first chain 2 again, and do a second row and finish it off. It'll just give it a nice solid border.